mind, what are you doing? This is like, there are moments in your life where you're like, okay, I feel like I'm being spoken to. And it started to. That was when the ball started to roll. And I sat next to a girl. Now, we change our seats often, but I sat next to a girl, and she had bariatric surgery as well, but it was from totally different, and it was a long time ago, and she was looking really good herself, and so she was telling me the processes and the procedures, and I truly believe that these people, in a way, were kind of like angels for me.
Yeah,
There's four separate people, completely unrelated to one another, within, I would say, a 6-month period that started this ball rolling in my life. And that's when I started to actually pay attention to it. And then I went and they had an initial consultation, and it was a group with a lot of people where they came in, they said, these are the types of surgeries that we do. These are the 3 doctors. There was 3 doctors that were there. I'd already knew a doctor that I had wanted,
right,
or that I had wanted to speak to, because I hadn't fully made the decision yet.
Okay, so you're still deciding at this point.
I'm still deciding at this point. Yes, it was a long time coming. It started to slowly kind of just present itself. It manifested itself in my life in a very organic way, which is why I trust the process now, which is why I'm talking with you about this now. So that was how I initially got the ball rolling. After that first meeting, I set a goal for myself because I was taking a flight, and Monette, I was petrified. I was petrified of the flight. I thought for sure, because I hadn't been on an airplane in a while, I thought for sure the seatbelt wasn't going to fit.
Right.
I thought for sure once the plane took off, it was going to kind of like tilt to the side. Like I was really, I was really nervous about it.
The irrational terror that every big person or fat person has. And I'm saying fat, guys, so if you're offended, I will apologize ahead of time. But as a fat person, I can say that, I think. But yeah, these are real fears that you worry about.
Yeah, so I said to myself, I set a goal. I had 2 months, and I said, you know what? If I cannot lose the 40 pounds before I take this trip, if I said, even though 40 pounds, when you're 365, 370 pounds, 10, 20, 30, even 40 pounds, it's kind of like tossing deck chair off the Titanic. You don't really make much of a difference. It's more psychological than it is physical, to be honest with you. So I was only managed to lose about 25 pounds before I had left, which I considered an achievement, but it wasn't my goal.
Got it.
It wasn't my goal. And so when I went, that's when I made the decision that I was going to start taking this seriously. And then it started a whole new process. It started a whole new process that people have to go through, especially if they have any sort of insurance and they use it, which is what I was doing. I was fortunate enough. I consider myself very lucky for a couple reasons. One, I've always been fairly healthy. I've never had any major health problems with me while growing up. There were a few things that were starting to creep up, like I would throw my back out every once in a while. My knees were starting to hurt as I was walking downstairs. Now, keep in mind, I'm only 33 at the time.
Right.
My blood pressure kind of was going up, and it was kind of coming back down. It wasn't really that stable, and then I finally went to the doctor, and he said, "You're pre-diabetic."
There's the death knell right there. The pre-diabetic, yeah.
And that was it was just a kind of a summation of all these parts that caused me to come to this decision. Once I made the decision that I was going to actually do the surgery, it started a whole new process, and a kind of a lengthy process. Okay. So, but that's how I came to it. That's how it happened organically. It happens. We're all like snowflakes in this regard. Where it happens differently for everybody. Yeah. How you come to it, how you accept it as your truth. That's how it happened for me.
That is true. And that way we can be like little snowflakes and not the other kind of snowflakes. But what I want to say is this. I've noticed that people have a tendency to focus on the optics of the surgery, okay? So everybody's worried about what that feels like, what it looks like when you're describing that percentage of your stomach that's removed. From your experience, what do you think that people need to focus on when they are going into something like this?
Okay, so I think that a lot of times people, you're right, they do. They have a tendency to focus on the vanity aspect, the optics of it. They have a tendency to say, okay, well, here's the thing. When I hear somebody say that they would like to lose weight because I've been obese, and I've been morbidly obese, what I actually hear is, I need love, I need validation, I want respect. That's what I hear. Now, in their mind, they don't probably think that way. What they're thinking of is, I want to fit into that nice little black dress and impress a bunch of people because I want to feel good about myself. However, with a surgery like this, there's a couple different things that happen. So after I had the surgery, and I started to lose weight pretty rapidly. Like it started to come, and there's a few different reasons for that. Number one, I'm a boy. Mm-hmm. Boys have a tendency to lose weight a lot quicker than girls because it's more hormonal for women.
Yes, it is.
and that has a tendency to keep the fat strapped to their bodies, really. And it's just more difficult for them. But when I started this process, it was not for vanity reasons at all. But what I learned was that it was kind of, for me, it was just kind of the cherry on top. Now, I've been in a relationship for 800 years now. So it was, I really had nobody to impress but myself. That was it. I had nobody to, I wasn't going on dates. I wasn't,
Right.
So I was very fortunate in that regard because I had very supportive energy around me at the time. Supportive, loving energy around me. I give my partner 200% kudos for sticking by me from the very beginning to, there is no end. It's ongoing, but he is stuck by me. And there was never an issue. This was always like, if this is a decision that you want to do, if this is you standing in your truth, and I think he felt that from the very beginning, I support you. And he has been with me. I'm so grateful for that, and I'm so thankful for that. So, you know that Beyonce song, Pretty Hurts?
Yes, I am.
And in the song, she says it's the soul that needs the surgery. Mm. This is what I learned the hard way. This is what I learned the hard way because what started off, now I got that surgery and it was in September of 2013. And when that song came out, I was driving down the road and it made me very emotional. So, because I kind of tapped into where she was coming from with it, and I realized that regardless of whether or not I lose 150, 200 pounds, if I don't fix what's going on inside of me when it comes to my relationship with food, I'm dead in the water. Like the weight's going to start to come back, and in 5 years' time, I'm just going to be morbidly obese again.
Okay.
And so once again, it's the soul that needs the surgery.
It's the soul.
So I think
that goes for any addiction. I don't think that's just this goes for anything that you're struggling with. Listeners, everybody has to get in touch with their soul before they can heal. And for Alan, it shows up physically, but I think that's such a great point that he makes because we forget that we all want a magic pill, a quick fix, all of that stuff. And that's not necessarily ever the thing that gets you over the hump. You get you over the hump by inspecting and cleaning up your mess, whatever that is. Mm-hmm.
Now, here's what I notice a lot of people do when they start getting into the process of talking about a life-changing surgery like this. There's a couple things that happen. First thing is that I feel like any time that you make a big commitment, and this is not just for surgery, this is for anything in your life. Anytime you make a commitment to truly change who you are as a person, to make a big leap as a person, there will always be casualties. Whether those casualties are other human beings around you, because like a rock that falls into a lake, it just sends ripples out everywhere. And everybody has their own internal issues when it comes to weight, so everybody has an opinion about what's going on. And because of this, I see especially women, I don't know why, but I see people want to hide what they're doing. I chose to take a pretty transparent stance when it came to it. Now, I didn't advertise it on social media. I didn't tell anybody but my close friends what I was doing. But anybody who asked, I was very honest with them. This is what I did. This is the procedure that I had done. This is how much weight that I lost. And this is how I feel. And because of that, I've managed to start that snowball rolling down the hill for a few other people. And I never once recommended having surgery. That's never been in my lexicon at all. I never once recommended for people to, this is what I think you should do to lose your weight. Absolutely not. All I did was I tried to lead by example as much as possible. This is what I did. This is how it worked for me. These are the risks, because there are some very inherent risks. You're having major abdominal surgery. They're literally pulling tissue of your body out of your body.
Right.
And it's viable tissue. So there's always kind of like that weird, there's nothing wrong with your stomach. I guess, well, it depends on how you look at it. There's nothing wrong with your stomach. It is a functioning organ. But because I believe, now that I know this firsthand, that your body kind of overrides your brain in ways because it craves pleasure, and it craves pleasure at its own detriment.
Yes.
So, so you overeat, or you take too many drugs, or you drink too much, and then all of a sudden your body starts to shut down. But you're having a good time, so you shut it out, and you'll crave something like McDonald's, but in your mind, that's going to give you a heart attack in 20 years, but you still eat it.
Right.
Because you give into it. Yeah, you give into it. Now, I believe that everybody knows how to lose weight. We're at a point in our lives where information is just flying at us at 100 miles an hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I believe that everybody knows how to lose weight on a very superficial level. What I don't believe is that everybody knows or has put the time in to realize what nutrition triggers or registers with their bodies.
Right.
They don't understand that. For me, it's a plant-based diet. For you, I believe you're in the keto.
I'm more keto.
Yes.
But before we get into that's such a great and salient point. But before we get into that, I want to kind of take a step back and just ask you. You were talking about the casualties, and that's always very interesting to me, because I'm fascinated with the way that we deal with each other whenever we're having changes in our life. And I started the show talking about a change we're going through as a country and how we're all reacting to it and how everybody has an opinion. So it's no different in that regard when you're doing weight loss. Everybody has an opinion. And there is something that in our conversation you had mentioned to me, the air effect. And could you explain what that is to the listeners?
The air effect. Yeah. Sure. The air effect is when, and I didn't coin this. This is Oprah, 100%.
Oprah!
She was talking with Carrie Underwood, and Carrie Underwood says, as I was starting to get a little bit more famous, and as I was starting to rise, people started to become weird. And Oprah said, that's the air effect. As you get higher and higher and higher, people, the oxygen levels get thinner, and people tend to flake off. It's the same exact way when you make any sort of major change, or actually when you adjust your frequency from AM to FM, the same exact thing happens. So friends, people that I were close to, people got strange to me. Their energy was no longer enjoyable to me, or when I was in the hospital, people didn't call, or when I would mention something and say, hey, let's make healthier choices and do this, and let's do XYZ instead of, ABC, they would say, well, these comments were actually made to me. Not all of us had bariatric surgery. Very rude, crass, like almost
jealous, hating.
Jealousy, yeah. And so, because of that, my social circle now is completely different than it was at the time. I let that evolve. I let that evolve because of that, because everybody has their own, whether you're skinny or you're big, they have their own internal struggles with weight, or they have their own ideas about